Mm-hmm.
Okay, girls, time for school. Let's go.
Mommy.
Have a great day, my loves.
We will, honey.
I'm so proud.
I hope the girls haven't been waiting too long. This rain is terrible. Not now!
Let's go. Move fast. Almost there. Hold on. Keep pushing to the doors. Go over it. Let's go. Move fast. Almost there.
Please hurry!
Almost there. Hold on.
Lift up to me. 1, 2, 3. Oh, God.
We've got a female mid-30s accident victim. Severe trauma. Check her X-ray and CT scan now. No! I have to go. Help! Sucker babies! I can't stop. Amanda, thank God. Are you okay? Can you hear me?
I can see.
No. It's going to be okay. You're safe. I promise.
Amanda, it's me, Lucia. Don't be scared.
Lucia, I can't see her.
I know. I'll stay with you. You're going to be okay.
I'm afraid not. She won't be able to walk again, and she has also lost her vision. She will need a wheelchair from now on. No, this isn't real. You're going to be okay. I promise.
I walk, can't see. Shh.
I'll take care of you. Everything will be okay, I swear.
It's finally time. Time for me to take over Amanda's life and home. She is blind and crippled. How can she stop me?
Lucia, thank you for coming. I know it's sudden, but Amanda really needs help.
Of course, Jacob. I'm happy to man the kids. Thank you. You're in good hands, Amanda. Just rest. Everything looks good here. I can get it. Let me help you with that, dear. I'm fine, thanks. I can't. I'll try later. You need to focus on resting. I don't need help with everything. I'll wait up with everything.
Amanda had always been the kind of woman who thrived in her home, the center of her family's love and laughter. But now, as she sat in her wheelchair, blind and crippled from the accident that had changed her life in an instant, the world she knew seemed to have crumbled beneath her. The once familiar corridors of her mansion felt foreign, and even the soft touch of her husband's hand was no longer enough to calm the storm inside her. Jacob, her tall, dark-skinned, muscular husband, hovered near her wheelchair, gently guiding her hands toward her glass of water. His eyes were filled with a mixture of worry and frustration, unable to erase the helplessness in Amanda's voice. Every movement she tried to make reminded her of the limitations that now defined her existence. Every small task, from picking up a glass to adjusting her daughter's school bags, required another person's hands to guide her. Into this fragile balance stepped Lucia, Amanda's best friend, or so Amanda had thought. Lucia, fair-skinned and radiant, with long brown hair cascading down her shoulders, a tiny waist, and massive hips that turned heads wherever she went, carried herself with the confidence of a queen. Her makeup was flawless, highlighting her sharp cheekbones and full lips, a permanent mask of charm that hid intentions far darker than anyone could imagine. She had arrived under the guise of helping Amanda, but the truth was far more sinister. Lucia moved through the mansion as if it were hers. Every step, every gesture, calculated to remind Amanda of what she could no longer do. In the kitchen, Amanda stretched her hand toward a glass of water on the counter, her fingers brushing the edge, but unable to grasp it. "Lucia, can you please hand it to me?" she asked, her voice fragile, tinged with both hope and frustration. Lucia's smile widened, almost imperceptibly, as she held the glass just out of reach. "Of course, but let me see how you manage first," she said, her tone light, playful, but with an edge that made the air in the room feel heavy. Slowly, deliberately, she moved the glass closer, letting Amanda fumble. Jacob, unaware of the subtle cruelty in Lucia's actions, smiled in gratitude. "Lucia, you're amazing. Thank you so much," he said, his voice warm but tinged with fatigue. Amanda's frustration grew, audible in the small whimpers and sighs she could not hide. I don't need all this," she murmured, trying to sound stronger than she felt. But every attempt to assert herself was met with subtle reminders of her dependence. Lucia's poised hands, the way she glided around the room, always one step ahead. It wasn't just the chores or the meals. It was the way Lucia began to insert herself into every corner of the home. She dressed the girls in their school uniforms with meticulous care, adjusting collars and tying ribbons, but always with a glance at Jacob that lingered just long enough to make him notice. She laughed softly at jokes he made, her voice honeyed and sweet, a contrast to the tension that Amanda felt in her chest. Amanda, blind, could only hear, only feel, and only trust the reassurance in Jacob's hand. But even that was no shield against the growing tension. Madame Grace, the longtime nanny of the household, noticed the subtle changes first. The way Lucia delayed handing Amanda her meals. The way she subtly ignored Amanda's requests, waiting until Jacob's attention was elsewhere. Madame Grace frowned, her instincts screaming that something was amiss. She had served this family for years. She knew the patterns of loyalty and deceit. And something about Lucia's perfectly measured smiles, the way she moved with both grace and power, did not sit right. As the days passed, Amanda's frustration became a silent, simmering presence in the house. She could feel the shift in energy. The subtle ways her best friend turned stranger began to control her environment. Meals arrived on time, yet she struggled to reach them. Chores were done, yet she felt diminished. Jacob, ever kind, seemed blind to the manipulation, praising Lucia for her diligence, oblivious to the way Amanda flinched each time her hand brushed against her wheelchair tray or when her voice went unheard. And then came the moments of flirtation, small and seemingly innocent at first, but piercing like arrows through the fragile trust of a blind woman. Lucia's attention to Jacob was meticulous, the way she laughed at his jokes, adjusted the girl's ribbons while holding just the faintest lingering gaze toward him, the soft sighs that made his brow furrow in concern. Amanda could hear the undertones, the soft exchanges, and though she could not see, she could feel the subtle tension seeping into her home. Madame Grace tried to intervene, softly suggesting Amanda take her medication or rest in another room, hoping to create a moment of clarity. But Lucia was always nearby, her presence commanding, her smile unwavering, her movements precise. She positioned herself strategically in every room, always a step between Amanda and her family, subtly asserting control. Before long, the staff who had cared for Amanda for years began to disappear. Lucia found reasons to dismiss them one by one, leaving the household in her complete control. Amanda, blind and dependent, could do nothing but sense the absence of familiar voices, the shift in atmosphere, the quiet dominance of someone she had once trusted. Jacob, caught in the web of loyalty and charm, failed to see the manipulation. And Amanda, helpless, began to feel the weight of betrayal pressing down on her heart. It was in these moments, alone with her thoughts in the quiet of her bedroom, that Amanda truly understood the extent of her vulnerability. Her home, once a place of laughter and love, had become a stage for manipulation. Every sound, every laugh, every step from Lucia carried intent. And though Amanda could not see, she could feel it, like a shadow pressing against her, an unseen force reshaping her family, her life, her very sense of security. Lucia, meanwhile, moved through the mansion like a queen claiming her throne. She cooked, cleaned, organized, and played the part of the devoted friend. But every act was a calculated move in a game only she understood. She whispered to Jacob when Amanda was resting, leaned closer than necessary, and let subtle compliments and admiration slip naturally into conversation. Amanda's mind raced with suspicion, frustration, and fear, but her blindness kept her from confronting the full truth. She could only rely on her instincts, which screamed louder each day. Something was terribly wrong. And in the quiet corners of the mansion, Madame Grace watched, her eyes narrowed, sensing the storm that was brewing. She alone had seen the cracks, the false smiles, the manipulation behind the mask. She knew it was only a matter of time before the truth would have to surface, and Amanda would have to fight not just for her family, but for her own sense of self, her dignity, and the life she once had. But for now, the house belonged to Lucia. The blinds of Amanda's life, once open to love and trust, were now shadowed by deceit. And in the silence of her wheelchair, Amanda could only feel, only wait, and only hope that the ties of friendship and family could withstand the storm that had just begun. Amanda had never imagined that her home, the place where she had built a life of laughter, love, and trust, could become a prison. But now, confined to her wheelchair and blinded by the accident that had stolen her sight, every corner of her mansion felt like a stage where someone else held the script. That someone was Lucia. Lucia moved through the house with the ease of a queen claiming her throne. Every day she entered the living room, kitchen, or bedroom with an air of authority, guiding the children, arranging meals, and positioning herself exactly where Amanda could feel her presence, yet never see it. She whispered to Jacob under the guise of casual conversation, her voice smooth, warm, and inviting, a stark contrast to the silent frustration radiating from Amanda. Jacob, tall, dark-skinned, muscular, and always kind, found himself caught in the subtle net of her charm. He had trusted her as Amanda's friend, believed in her loyalty, and now, more than ever, depended on her support to care for his wife. But Lucia's influence was like smoke curling through the household, slow, invisible, and all-consuming. She leaned closer than necessary when she handed the children their breakfast, laughed at Jacob's jokes with a softness that seemed natural, and whispered small compliments when Amanda was resting. Jacob felt responsible, protective, and at times guilty for the burden Amanda now carried. He did not yet realize that guilt was the key that Lucia would twist to her advantage. Amanda could feel it. She sensed the subtle shifts, the deliberate delays in receiving food or water, the way her requests were sometimes ignored until Jacob intervened. She could feel the weight of her daughter's presence, the silent questions in their eyes, the tension that now filled rooms that once resonated with warmth. But she could not see. And in a home where blindness rendered her defenseless, she began to feel the first sharp edges of betrayal. Lucia began consolidating her control in small, deliberate ways. She dismissed the remaining staff one by one, always citing minor faults or inefficiencies. She took over household management entirely, orchestrating the family's day-to-day life, while Amanda remained dependent, frustrated, and painfully aware of her inability to intervene. Meals were prepared meticulously, children dressed immaculately, rooms spotless. But every act of care was tinged with subtle cruelty, reminding Amanda of her helplessness. And then came the moments that cut deeper than any physical limitation could. One evening, Jacob returned from work to find the house quiet, the children prepared for bed, and Amanda struggling to reach a book she wanted to read. Lucia was nearby, adjusting the children's blankets, her makeup perfect, her long brown hair cascading over her shoulders, tiny waist accentuated by a fitted dress, her massive hips swaying with a practiced elegance. She smiled at Jacob in a way that seemed innocent but carried a hidden weight, a deliberate charm meant to unsettle Amanda without her knowing. Amanda's heart sank, her body stiffening in the wheelchair. She could hear the soft clicks of Lucia's heels on the polished floor, the faint rustle of fabric, the low laughter shared between her husband and her best friend. Jacob, oblivious, leaned closer to Lucia, brushing a hand across his forehead in fatigue, seeking comfort in her presence. And that was when the line began to blur. The first touch was subtle. Jacob, moved by sympathy for Amanda's condition, allowed himself a moment of consolation with Lucia, a hand on her shoulder as they discussed the children's needs. Lucia leaned into the contact, her voice soft, her tone honeyed, expressing concern that seemed genuine, while Amanda could only sense it, unable to see the betrayal unfolding before her eyes. That single, innocent-appearing gesture became the opening to a cascade of manipulation that would shake Amanda's world to its core. Night after night, Jacob found himself lingering in conversation with Lucia, drawn by her confidence and charm, while Amanda remained silent, bound to her wheelchair, feeling the house tilt under someone else's control. Lucia whispered words meant only for him, sharing confidences about Amanda's struggles, playing on his guilt, making him feel that her attention was needed. Slowly, carefully, she blurred the line between empathy and temptation. Amanda, though blind, felt the change acutely. She sensed the warmth that should have been hers, the quiet closeness Jacob shared with someone else, the subtle laughter, the small touches. Every sound, every shift in the atmosphere pressed into her chest like a weight she could not lift. The mansion, once a sanctuary, became a theater of her helplessness, and every corner echoed with the soft triumph of a friend she had once trusted. Madame Grace, the nanny who had cared for the family for years, watched silently from the sidelines. She noticed how Lucia positioned herself between Amanda and Jacob, how she delayed meals, how she whispered words that only Jacob could hear. Grace knew the subtle signs of manipulation, the way a house could be quietly stolen from its rightful owner, and she grew increasingly determined to intervene. But for now, she could only watch as Amanda struggled, powerless, while the betrayal unfolded in 1,000 small, calculated acts. Lucia's control extended even further when she began disciplining the household staff. Those who had once served Amanda faithfully were dismissed on the slightest pretext, leaving only Lucia, Jacob, Amanda, and the children. The house became a stage entirely under her command. Amanda's requests were ignored, delayed, or twisted. When she asked for water, it arrived late. When she asked for meals, they were set down as reminders of her dependence rather than as acts of care. Every day, Amanda felt the subtle erosion of her dignity, the quiet assertion of power from someone she had trusted with her life. And yet, in all of this, Jacob remained unaware of the depth of deception. He was kind, caring, but blinded by his belief in friendship and loyalty. He did not perceive the flirtation, the subtle manipulations, the ways in which his wife's best friend was reshaping the household around him. Amanda, blind and confined, could only feel the currents of betrayal, the cold undercurrent in her once warm home. She could only wait, hope, and pray that someone would see the truth before it was too late. Lucia, meanwhile, moved through the mansion with poise and elegance, her every gesture deliberate. She smiled at Amanda, whispered compliments to Jacob, and adjusted the children's hair and clothes with meticulous care, all while ensuring that she remained untouchable by suspicion, untouchable in her slay queen perfection. And as the house settled into a rhythm she controlled, Amanda's world narrowed to sound, touch, and fear, a world where betrayal had already found its foothold. For Amanda, every day was a reminder that the accident had taken more than her sight and her mobility. It had opened the door for someone to seize control of her life, her family, and even her husband. And for Lucia, it was only the beginning, a slow, careful conquest, one calculated step at a time, while the woman she had betrayed sat helpless, unable to see, unable to fight, and painfully aware that her best friend was now her greatest enemy.